Financial Thing Studios. It's the Peer-to-Peer Lending Essentials podcast.
Welcome to the Financial Thing Investing Essentials podcast. My name is Lawrence Samuels, your ever-lovable host as always here, and we have something a little bit different for you this week. This is in the crowdfunding sector. As you know, we usually talk about peer-to-peer lending, especially UK focused, but today we have David Willis with us, who is the director, writer, and if anything else, he'll tell you what it is, because I don't understand much about the film business and movie business, but David is involved in a project called That Christmas Movie, which is being crowdfunded in the USA. So I wanted to get David on the podcast and have a little chat about movie business and how things are going with the crowdfunding. So how are you doing today, David?
I'm swell. It's the morning here in Los Angeles, California.
Where particularly in Los Angeles? You don't have to give me the street name, just, the vicinity.
I'm Studio City. It's in the valley. It's in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles. It's called Studio City because there's a couple of movie studios around here.
Imagine that. So you probably live next door to Brad Pitt then, yes?
Yeah, he's always coming over to borrow stuff. I'm like, Brad, come on, Brad.
A cup of alcohol. I heard you can't keep the guy away. He's just always bugging his neighbors for things. But so, David, I know one of your associates contacted me recently about what you were doing with the movie and the crowdfunding. I found it very interesting because it's not something that I have any experience with. So tell me a little bit first about you. What is your experience within the movie business? How long have you been doing it for?
Well, I come from television. I wrote for some TV shows, Cybil Caroline in the City, and worked on a bunch of other shows. And I decided that I wanted to make independent film because I love independent film. And the major studios have gotten out of the business of making smaller movies. It's just not their business model. They, they'll spend $150 million to make a movie. They'll spend another $100 million to promote it, and they'll get $1 billion at the box office. And that's a great business model. We should all do that, right? Mm-hmm. But the North American box office last year, I think it was around $11 billion in North America, and about a third of that was independent movies. So independent movies still make billions at the box office because they're not making the smaller comedies, the interesting dramas. In fact, by far the majority of Oscars are won by independent films because they're making the movies the Hollywood studios won't make. So there's a vacuum in the marketplace, and we're filling it up artistically and financially. Actors want to do something besides put on a superhero costume. They like to do different, interesting roles. So there's a hunger for it. There's a thirst for it for people in the business, and the audiences want to see it too. And that's why we got into it. My exec producer, he's got 14 Emmy nominations, and he won 4 Emmys. He doesn't like to talk about it because he's classy, but I'm not, so I'll brag for him. But Jay Kogan won for that, for The Simpsons and Frazier, and that's the sensibilities you're getting with this movie project. Even though, and he's running a show, and he's showrunner on a hit Nickelodeon show called School of Rock, which is based on the film. And that's a hit show, and he's crazy busy doing that. But even so, he still wants to make a movie. There's a thirst, there's a hunger in this business to make some movies and there aren't enough Christmas movies. So that's why we're doing this.
So how costly, David, is it actually to make the type of independent film that you're making?
Well, independent films can run from, you could spend 10, 20 grand and make something really cheap, or you could spend, millions, $5 million, $10 million to make it. Movie production, those factors are determined by a couple of things. I purposely set out to write a movie that could be done on a low budget and not suffer for that. Mm-hmm. So there are no explosions. There's no digital effects where you have an army full of nerds with computers creating things. There's none of that because all that costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time. So this movie, it's called I'll Be Next Door for Christmas. And it's about this family that's crazy for Christmas. They go over the top for Christmas, But the 16-year-old daughter hates it. It's ruined her life. And she's got her first boyfriend ever coming to visit her from out of town, and he's coming at Christmas. So she does not want to subject him to her family's Christmas insanity. So she hires 2 actors to pretend to be her parents and stages a fake Christmas dinner for the boyfriend at the empty house next door. What could go wrong?
Absolutely nothing, of course.
Yes, you see it clearly. So I wrote it that way. So it's a character driven, it's comedic, it's fun, it's witty, but it also, for practical reasons, it takes place at 2 houses right next door to each other. So in movie production, what this means is we can set up the company, we can set up the crew and everything, we can plop down and stay in one place for 4 weeks while we're shooting, because every time you move you have to break everything down, then drive, put it in the trucks, then drive, then set it up again, and that takes time, that takes money. So I wrote it so that it can be in one place, so that reduces costs significantly. And another trick is I have usually only 2 people in each scene. There are some scenes with a lot of people in them, but there's a lot of scenes with only 2 people, because when you're making a movie, you need to get what they call coverage. You need shots of everybody in the scene when something important is going on. So it takes time to get shots of everybody. So if you only have 2 people in the scene, it takes it's twice as fast to shoot that than if there were 4 people in the scene. So we've done things really specifically to make it so we can shoot at low budget without sacrificing quality. If we had a bunch of explosions that we had to shoot and we didn't have that kind of money, it's going to look cheesy. And as a viewer, that's not very satisfying. We've all seen some like low budget stuff where people putting something on YouTube and they're trying to make it look like a big movie, and it's just not working. And unless these are like, 9-year-old kids doing it, it's not cute. You don't want to pay good money for.
Oh no! So so we're not going to see Jennifer Tilly explode.
No. Yeah, Jennifer Tilly is the first star we have attached to the movie, and we're thrilled because she's so funny. She's a writer's dream. She always makes the jokes work. Although, and I'm not kidding, when we're shooting this, we can't play poker with her in between takes.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend it either.
You know about her poker career?
I do know. I've actually played with her before.
Really?
Yes, that's the only connection we have. But yes,
isn't she great?
She's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, we played poker with her, and she just took all our money. I mean, it was low stakes, so we were okay. But she's really good.
She's a sharkette.
Yes.
You said you were going to have these 2 houses next door to each other. I was curious about that. Are those people's houses that they live in and let you rent them?
You rent them for like 3 or 4 weeks. Here in Los Angeles, because there's so many movies and things made, people will register their houses at what's called a location service company, and producers will look at these houses and they'll say, okay, we want to rent your house for a day or for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And the people go out, they go to a hotel, they stay with friends, and they make money from renting their house out. So yeah, we're going to go way out in the suburbs, and because it's a low budget movie, we're not going to be renting in a high end neighborhood. We'll go way out in the suburbs, and for somebody who'd be happy to get some money for the for that, and we'll run next door to each other. But that's another example of how we're making the movie in a cost-effective way. We have a motto. We actually made we have an official motto, which is called "Put it up on the screen." Put it on the screen, and that's a saying in this business. If there's money in the budget for something, it's either going to show on the screen or it won't. Like if you, spend a lot of money to get a famous actor, that's going to be on the screen. If you're spending money on costumes, it's going to be on the screen. If you spend money for a location, you'll see that. If you hire, more people to work in the production design department, then it's going to look better. But if when you do a movie, you rent offices for like 3 months. If we rent swanky offices in Beverly Hills, that's money that's not going to be on the screen. Okay, so we're renting cheap offices in North Hollywood that will be just fine, and the money we save goes on the screen.
David, how long ago did you start putting this movie into the process of organizing it?
We wrote this movie about 1.5 years ago, And first, I went around and talked to rich people, high net worth individuals, to invest in the film. And that it's painstaking and it's slow and it's a one-on-one meeting. And sometimes, they don't understand the business. And so it takes a lot of, because, it's not their business. So they made their money some other way. So it takes time to explain it to them. And it ended up, I met with this one fella, very high net worth individual. And we were sitting in these wing-back chairs next to his private lake. Okay.
Smoking jackets or not? No smoking jacket.
No. I just realized this is surreal, and equity crowdfunding had just become legal in America. You see, in England, you're ahead of us as usual with healthcare, with everything. You guys are so far ahead of it. And so you've been doing this for a while. You've had a couple of movies, at least like 3 movies have been funded successfully. But it's just becoming legal here. And so last November, I started researching it thoroughly. And it took me like 3 months to do the research, to put it all together, and to come up with the campaign. And then the campaign itself runs for 3 months once it launched. It launched in April. So it took a while. But the SEC, which is in our country, the Securities and Exchange Commission, which are the people who regulate the financial market, they have rules about what we could say about the investment. Mm-hmm. And we can't discuss particulars with somebody like you. If people want to see the details of the investment, they have to go to the webpage. The SEC has determined that everyone has to have access to the exact same information on the webpage. So I can't give details, but what I can say is that I spent a year talking to rich people and raised some money. But in like 6 weeks with this crowdfunding campaign, I raised 180% of what I got from talking to those rich guys for a year. So it's much easier to explain your idea to the crowd, mm-hmm. because then a certain amount of people will get it. They'll go, oh, it's a Christmas movie. Mm-hmm. And these guys have all these Emmys and they have an Oscar. They must know what they're doing. And so instead of sitting in wingback chairs explaining to somebody who made his money some other way, I can show it to people who get it, who'll go, oh, I want to see that movie.
I'm very surprised that actually more movies have not been crowdfunded, because it just makes so much sense. And one of the other things, it's quite exciting. It's an exciting thing to be a part of. I think every person has always had that dream of being involved in the movie business somehow. Crowdfunding allows them to do that, just as how in England we get to crowdfund airplane purchases and exotic cars that most of us will probably never own, but we have a little piece of it virtually. And so, I hope that's something that will continue to expand on the movie business.
I totally agree with you, man, because I've contributed to a bunch of Kickstarter campaigns, Indiegogo campaigns. If I look at somebody's campaign and they make me smile or laugh in the first 30 seconds, I'm like, okay, I'm putting money in. If you can make me laugh, if you can make people laugh, you've made the world a little better place. So, and by the way, we have investors from England. You can, anyone in the world can invest in these movies. We got England, we got Germany, investors from Canada, from Australia. Did you know they had the internet down there, Lawrence, in Australia?
I did know that, yeah.
Yeah, electricity, the internet. Apparently they do more than just ride kangaroos and boomerang each other. And quite a few Australians speak English in addition to Australian. I didn't know that.
They absolutely do. They're very smart people down there, in case you didn't know.
Oh, they make really great movies. Muriel's Wedding. Did you ever see Muriel's Wedding?
Yeah.
Oh, Australian movies. Oh, they're so good. They're so witty. They're very funny.
The only thing they have to answer for is Mel Gibson aside of that. They should take him back for sure. Sorry.
That you. The dog is barking.
I thought your dog was laughing at my joke. about Mel
Yes,
Gibson.
Lawrence. That's what the dog was doing. The dog has very good taste.
Why did you write this movie to begin with? Is this something are you passionate about Christmas, or is this some idea you had that you enjoy writing about and you just decided to do it? Why did you decide to make an independent film like this?
There are two reasons behind why I wrote it. One is artistic reasons. If you're going to write something and direct it, you have to have some kind of sympathy with it. You have to have some kind of you have to believe in it, or it's going to be terrible. You can't. It's hard to write. It's hard to direct. If you don't believe in it, no one else will. Mm-hmm. So for artistic reasons, I really love Christmas movies, and they're a metaphor for family. And every Christmas movie, every good one, has certain things in common. Number one, Christmas has to be in jeopardy. And then number two, there has to be family involved. There has to be some crisis with the family. I mean, like Elf, the movie Elf. Christmas is literally in jeopardy because Santa's sleigh, is dropping because people don't believe enough. Yeah. Okay, and then the family, Will Ferrell's father, doesn't literally think he's his son. Doesn't believe in Christmas. So by the end of that movie, Christmas is saved and the family is saved. Every Christmas movie has that, A Christmas Story, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. They all have those. So it's a metaphor for family, and I really love that, because if a Christmas movie is funny and not sappy, then at the end when they get sentimental, I can wallow in the sentimentality, because they saved it up to the end, and they earned it by making me laugh. Yeah. So for artistic reasons, that's why I like Christmas movies. And for business reasons, this is our first independent film that we're financing this way. So for business reasons, Christmas movies are, if you'll forgive the pun, they're evergreen. Christmas movies continue to produce income year after year, decade after decade. When you ask people, hey, what's your favorite Christmas movie? They might say Elf, which is 10, 11 years old, I think. Or they'll say A Christmas Story, which came out 34 years ago. Mm-hmm. But every year they sell tons of DVDs. It's on cable. You buy it as a gift for friends. It still makes money. And sometimes they'll say It's a Wonderful Life, which was made over 70 years ago. Mm-hmm. So Christmas movies continue to produce income year after year after year, if they're any good. And if you watch cable, I don't know if it's the same thing in England, but here in America, around the holidays, there are tons of Christmas movies on, and people just binge watch these Christmas movies. You curl up with your family and you watch these Christmas movies. So for business reasons, I mean, let me put it this way. And I'm sorry to bring crude terms into your classy investment show, Lawrence, because I looked at your website, and you really know your stuff. You're really talking about the returns and all this stuff, and it's fascinating. But the way I put it, as far as Christmas movie investment, is because there's so much demand for them and they're playing on TV so much, you'd have to make a pretty crappy Christmas movie to lose money on it. Mm. That's how I pitched it to some people. Now, of course, it's always possible that, it's an artistic endeavor. The movie could flop. Right. That's always a possibility. It's show business. You never know.
As long as you don't have Madonna in it, I think you'll be okay. That seems to be the only movies that flop are the ones with Madonna.
She's my other neighbor.
Oh, hopefully she didn't hear me say that.
Actually, she used to live up the street, so I'm not even kidding. She used to live up the street, but paparazzi were clogging the streets, and she moved.
Are you crowdfunding the total cost of the movie, or are you using any of those private investors' money, or is this going to be completely crowdfunded?
It could be a hybrid. Ideally, it will be all crowdfunding. The budget of the film is $850,000, and we'd like to raise the entire amount crowdfunding. Okay. And just because we'll be the first ones to do it in the United States, the first feature-length narrative film to do that in the United States, and we have 3 other movies planned after this. So we'd like to do it, but we will. There's interest from other parties, and we may end up doing a hybrid where it's part crowdfunded and part from private investors or independent film companies. And I can't really go into more specifics, again, because of the communication guidelines. But if you go onto the website, you can see You can read more about how that works, but they're all equal. All investors are equal.
I know I had a few questions here that you've told me that you cannot answer because of the SEC's regulations about what you are able to tell people and not tell them. So if anybody wants to read more about the financial aspects and the business aspects, they can go to the crowdfunding page. I'll put that in the description. I know I was going to ask you what happens if the total cost isn't raised, and you were going to tell me what?
That I can't answer that question. It's very frustrating because if I were investing, I'd like to know the answer to that question.
Sure.
So some investors have asked it, and I've answered it on the webpage.
Okay.
The SEC has decided that no one gets special information. Everyone has to get the exact same information, and you don't have to register anything. You can just go to the webpage, and it's an SEC registered webpage, and you can go and read the answer to that. We got it covered.
So again, I'll go through these questions. You'll tell me what you can answer and what you can't. Now, assuming that the movie is profitable, how long do you estimate it will take for the investors to be paid back?
I can't really discuss the timeline of it. Essentially, in the simplest form, if the movie makes money, investors make money.
Yep.
This company has one purpose and one product. Mm-hmm. That movie, that's it.
Okay.
There's nothing else. Nothing's going to dilute this company's interests or anything else. All the profits from the movie, merchandising, selling off novelization to the story, all that stuff.
Okay. So can you say, would it be less than 30 years?
Well,
just to give some kind of a timeline.
I sure hope so.
Okay. Let's say to be decided.
The movie is I can tell you this. The movie's scheduled to be released this November of 2017.
Wow, that's fast. When are you going to actually start shooting this film?
In August.
Wow, August, September. So, okay.
Again, it's designed. We're producing it like a TV show. TV shows only have a couple of sets, and they shoot quickly. And while we shoot, someone will be editing. So we'll have it out. That's the schedule is to have it out this November. So I think they can figure out from that answer when.
It's a relatively fast process. So I was thinking it was longer than that, but I suppose you don't have the same things that the big movie studios have to go through with the advertising and distribution. So I understand that. David, do you think that major movie companies are going to start using crowdfunding to film, to fund movies, or do they just have these rich Chinese investors that are willing to put hundreds of millions of dollars in because they know they're going to make money off of Bruce Willis?
I don't think the major studios will ever use it because they already have all their production funds in place. Their movie studios are part of huge companies, and they can afford to fund all their films. And there are costs associated with crowdfunding. You have to pay a percentage of what you raise to the portal. It's called a portal. These sites where you have to run your campaign. They're like Kickstarter, but more tightly regulated by the government. And there's only 26 of them in the United States. These portals, and there's only like 6 that are actually active and running right now. So they charge anywhere from 4 to 8%. So the studios have no reason to spend 4 to 8% to raise money from the crowd.
How risky is actually investing in movies as a whole entity? Do you think that it's a high percentage of movies actually make money, or do you think it's a low percentage that are actually profitable?
Investing in independent film is risky. You don't use the rent money to invest in an independent film, in any film. You just don't do it. If you're saving money for a kidney operation, don't use that money to invest in any higher risk investments.
No, use that money for kidneys. Yes,
some people do it for a lark, because it's fun. It's fun to follow along. You get perks. The first couple of hundred investors in our movie, and we're almost there. We're getting close to 200 investors. Are going to get special access and live updates from the set and see the stars that other people won't get to see. So there's perks involved. There's other perks. You can get your name on the screen. it's fun to be involved. It's kind of it's a fun feeling when the movie comes out to point to it and go, hey, I made that happen. Mm-hmm. I made that happen. I own a piece of that. Oh, speaking of which, I was going to tell you, we're running a contest to be in the movie, but our lawyer said we can only have people who live and work in the United States be in it. Should I even mention this? Or
I know. Disappointed.
I'm sorry.
I thought I was going to get like this cameo role where I'd sweep Jennifer Tilly off her feet.
Hey, you get in line, buddy.
A good portion of our readers are actually American, so you can say whatever you want. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. I can see why. Yes, we're running a contest. Actually, this is another legal thing I learned. It's not a contest. It's actually called a sweepstakes because there's no skill required to win. It's random. Okay. You can just enter a bunch of times. The more times you enter, the more chances you have. And we're going to draw. Well, we aren't. The computer's randomly going to pick 11 people to be in our movie.
Wow.
And 10 of those will have walk-on roles, and one of them will have a speaking part. With the stars of the movie. You'll get a dressing room. They'll get the whole star treatment and everything. And I hope you're going to give a link to our
of course
our campaign. Okay.
Yes.
And the link for actually the contest is thatchristmasmovie.com. And go there, and then there's a link there to go to the contest, and you just enter there, and we're going to put people in the movie.
That's exciting. So you heard it here first. People that are living in the land of America, if you want to have an opportunity to have a walk-on role in the I'll Be Next Door for Christmas movie, just visit the link, and maybe that could be your new career. And maybe you could have a career in the movie business. Who knows? After this, endless possibilities, right?
Hey, it's show business. Things like that happen.
You never know. You never know. That's pretty exciting. So I hope everybody out there will go and register for that. So personally speaking about investing for you, David, have you ever crowdfunded anything as far as for an investment purpose goes, rather than, Kickstarter? I don't really consider crowdfunding. That's more kind of donating money to people's causes. Right. But have you ever invested in the crowdfunding space yourself?
No, I haven't. I have not. I'm pretty conservative with my money, and so it's. I haven't done that yet. I tend to invest in myself. That sounds egotistical, but I tend to invest in things to further my projects and further my career with those projects. Because it takes money to develop a project, to develop scripts, to fly around, to go to meetings, to do all that stuff. And that's what I invest in for now.
Very smart.
Thank you. I was looking at your website and I saw those peer-to-peer lending things, and that looks really, they actually do that in the US too. And that looks very interesting.
Yeah. So. Well, maybe it's something you'll look into in the future, even just to expand your knowledge on crowdfunding and how it works. It really is, when you're an investor, you get to see the other side of things. So it's very interesting for you to be on the borrowing side, or I guess technically borrowing, not borrowing. You're on the, I don't even know what they would call you, because you're not borrowing money. You're a crowdfundee? Would that be right? Are you because we're crowdfunders. You'd be a crowdfundee. Would that be correct?
I don't know.
Because we usually call you borrower. We would normally call the borrower, but you're not borrowing money. So anyway, so let's move along. You've never invested in crowdfunding. You said you invest in yourself, which I found a lot of these business people to their own companies, also the peer-to-peer lending companies, they tend not to invest in other things aside of their own companies. Do you do any other type of investing aside of in yourself and in your own business?
No, I don't. If for some reason, about 10 years ago or so, I decided I wanted to try day trading.
What you talking about, Willis?
To work a different part of my mind. Oh, you're making a face. Look at that face you're making.
Ow.
And so I got computers and the programs, and it was very interesting to work on that. And it's very different than my world. I mean, show business has kind of a sheen to it, and it seems a little bit mysterious and far away and hard to get into and all that stuff. But it's just, our business is just like the corner hot dog stand, except our mustard is creativity. Mm-hmm. That's what we are. But I wanted to just kind of work a different part of my brain. So for a few months, I did some day trading, and I was successful at it. But I had to get up at 6 a.m. to be awake when the markets opened. Mm-hmm. And it was also, it was kind of fun, but then I saw how a couple of mistakes and a couple of things could make it not fun. Mm-hmm. Yep. because it moves very quickly, and you can lose a lot. And I just did a lot of reading and research on that whole world, and I realized, wow, this is a rabbit hole I really don't want to continue going down. So I played around for a couple of months and got out, and I learned enough to know that I never want to do that. And I totally understand why you made that face, Lawrence.
Yeah.
It's not. I was doing it like a game, mm-hmm. But as a serious form of reasonable investing, it's not. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah, it really is. That if we could remove the emotional aspect out of trading, everybody could do it. But the problem is the emotions become involved, and all it takes is that one day when you're trading, when that stock market decides to correct 20 to 30%, and the emotions start worrying, and you start selling and buying at the wrong time, and it's a very, very difficult business. I think most people tend to lose money trading stocks, and even just because the fees are so expensive. So I think you made the right move getting out of that.
Well, thank you.
So let's say there's a person out there that has a pockets full of money, right? They don't want to do crowdfunding, but they want to start investing in movies. How does somebody start doing something like that?
Well, I mean, a way to technically invest in movies, you can do things like buy Disney stock, buy ABC, Disney stock, or any parent company of Paramount, or CBS, companies like, you could buy that stock, and that's part of what they do. Our company, it's just, when you invest in our company, it's one movie, that's it. Mm-hmm. But when you buy general stock like ABC and things like that, you're investing in all their movies. So that's one way, and the other way is, I mean, there are a ton of independent films who look for investors, but you have to be high net worth individuals to invest in those other independent films. So if you're high net worth individuals, I mean, you're on mailing lists, and you're on calling lists, and people will call you, and someday they will be movies, and you can just get in touch. You know what? Here's a way. If there's an independent film that you like, go on IMDb, find the name of the company that produced it, and then go to that company's website. And if you like the kind of movies they make, if you like the people who did Little Miss Sunshine or companies like that, you can contact them directly, because they frequently have individual investors who put in. So that's one way to dial in that particular. Again, you'd have to be a high net worth individual, but you could invest in a company whose style you like, whose movies you like. Some of them take investments that way.
Are there things like brokers who go out and find investors for people? I mean, it seems to me like if you're not in the know in that business, it would be a little bit difficult to enter that sector. Do they have things like brokers who go out and find investors for these movie companies, or not that you know of?
Not that I know of. It was the rage in the 90s to have something called film funds, where they would put together, tens of millions of dollars to make 3 or 4 or 5 independent films. But I don't know. You could search online for film funds. I don't know if anyone is doing those anymore. But anytime you say the word broker, anytime you start deducting fees from investors, then you're going to be that's less money that's going to make the movie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we hate fees.
And
absolutely detest them.
Yeah, and as you know, my motto is put it up on the screen.
Yep.
So
okay, so if anybody out there wants to invest in movies, then all you need to do is email the companies that are making the movies, maybe the production companies, and if you have that type of net worth, that could be a way in for you.
Yeah, and do it for, because you want the satisfaction of being associated with those movies. You can invest in, there's all these low budget horror films that are always looking for some money, and they make these horror films for like $20, $30, $100,000, very cheap.
Wow.
But there's always demand for horror films. There's constant demand, but there's not high demand. So there's a lot of low budget horror films that are turning a little profit. Mm-hmm. Okay, as opposed to like a Christmas movie, and things have broader appeal. Comedies have broader appeal, so they can make more money, and they have bigger share of the marketplace. So the horror films are kind of a lower hanging fruit. So, if you like that sort of thing, I'm sure you could search online for horror movie investments, and you could.
Yeah, zombie movies are the big thing at the moment, I hear.
Yeah. Well, zombies are evil. We're Christmas. We're good. So.
Absolutely. So tell the listeners of the podcast here why they would want to consider crowdfunding your I'll Be Next Door for Christmas movie.
There are not enough funny Christmas movies, not enough fun family Christmas movies out there. And if you feel that way too, if you'd like to see those, then that's a reason to help get this made. You'll be part of a team that has an Oscar and 4 Emmys, and we'll have a great cast, and you'll be part of that. So that's the, kind of satisfaction reason to do it. There's an enormous satisfaction in doing it. If that's something that would make you feel good, that's a reason to invest in something like this. And if the movie makes money, you make money. Mm-hmm. And again, it's something you use risk capital for because there are no guarantees. It's the movie business. I mean, there's no guarantees in any business, but in the movie business, it's an artistic endeavor. And, the movie could flop.
Yeah.
We're certainly not pitching failure, and we have a great script. We have a great team, but it's something you use risk capital for.
Tell me, David, so after the movie is made, what's the process after the finished product you have it in your hands? What do you do with it after that? Well,
we're selling off the foreign rights to foreign distributors, and they'll be taken out all over the world. And in North America, we are self-distributing. We're going to video on demand when you're scrolling. So like in the holiday season, when you're scrolling through your TV looking for a movie to rent, and our title pops up, I'll Be Next Door for Christmas. What's that? Oh, look who's in it. Oh, this sounds funny. Mm-hmm. And then click, and we're going straight to the viewers. Okay, we're bypassing the distributors. We're going straight to the people who want to see this, the people who are on the couch snuggling up, hanging out with a fam, and want to watch something through iTunes, Hulu, all those channels, and cable. And we're going straight out with that with a marketing budget so that people know about us. And that's how we're going to distribute the film.
So you don't have to deal with the big film theaters and all that nonsense. It's very expensive, I would imagine.
Yeah, we're distributing in select theaters. It's going to, at the same time, it will appear in some select theaters, some major cities in the U.S. and perhaps in England as well. It depends on what the foreign distributor does. But we're not going out wide. It's not that, as you say, it's a hassle and it's really expensive to do that.
Do you think that the people in England will be able to understand the language of the film? Just kidding. That was a silly question.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys know about the English accent effect when you're to Americans? Do you guys know about that?
No, what is that?
I don't know if you guys
explain.
Well, your accent to us always, you guys always just seem smarter than we are. Anything said with a British accent,
of course, we're very smart people.
It's you guys. It's just an effect that your accent has on Americans, and unless it's Cockney, maybe when they're being comedic. I see on TV shows. I don't even know if it's Cockney, but sometimes the comedic, like when Monty Python is talking a certain way, it becomes comedic to us. But normally, you guys, you have it. The British, you're so calm. It's it's like I can imagine the joke I tell. I used to do stand-up comedy, and the story I tell is how British people are very calm. I was on a British Airways flight going from New York to London. Halfway through the flight, the wing starts smoking. Smoke's coming out of the wing. People are freaking out, but the pilot got on the intercom and he calmed us all down because of his British accent. He was like, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your pilot speaking. You might have noticed that the right wing of the aircraft is currently on fire. No cause for alarm. The fire will soon be extinguished by the Atlantic Ocean. Cheers."
You sounded so English then, too. That was
thanks.
amazing.
Thanks, hopefully. I used to have an English girlfriend, so I kind of picked it up around her. I used to be an actor and again a comedian before I became a writer and a director. So
that was a good joke.
Oh, thank you. That's from my stand-up comedy act. Oh, my favorite joke. Oh, I didn't write this joke, but this is my favorite English joke. I don't know if this is told frequently in England or not, but it's my favorite English joke. An English bobby, policeman for you Americans, comes home and discovers his wife in bed with 3 men. And the bobby goes, "Hello, hello, hello." And the wife says, "Aren't you going to say hello to me?"
What are you talking about, Willis?
Wow.
I told you, your podcast is classy. I had to bring it down to American level. Is that a common joke in England?
I've never heard that one before.
Really?
No.
You know who told me that joke?
Tell me.
Jane Leaves. You know Jane Leaves? She played Daphne on the TV show Frazier. Yeah, and she loved. I worked on that show, and she loved to tell mildly naughty jokes. She's a very funny woman.
That wasn't even that bad, though. I mean, you know.
I know.
I've got one for you. You ready?
Yes, please.
Okay. Why did the scientist put a door knocker on his front door?
Why?
Because he wanted to win the Nobel Prize.
Yeah. Well, hold on a second. I'm just going to write that down.
Oh.
Okay. I'm just going to write that one down and
bad?
put it in a script. I'm going to put it in a script. Very good. Very funny.
It's pretty lowbrow humor. More for me than my listeners, because they're a lot more intelligent than I am. I was going to ask you, do you think if Donald Trump had an English accent, he'd actually be more intelligent?
Well, I don't know.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, really. It's that's another reason I like making Christmas movies and comedies. Is we can get away from the real world. You know?
I think a Christmas movie is a good movie. It's a family movie. You're not funding something that's full of nonsense or pornographic material or something like that. So, I mean, you know, I encourage everybody that's listening, go take a look at the crowdfunding page. The movie is called I'll Be Next Door for Christmas. They have a really good team of experienced people behind it, and you know, I hope that it does really well for you. And how close are you to getting your funding goals, to hitting them?
Again, because of the SEC rules, I can't get really super specific, but I can say that we have reached we blew past the minimum. We're at like 800% of our minimum at the beginning. So I can say that much. I'm sorry to be so weird about the figures, but if people just visit, they can see, like, immediately they can see all this information.
Okay, great. Is there anything else you want to tell the people about, David, before we wrap up?
Thanks for letting me share our movie. We're very excited to do it. One of the cool things about doing this and reaching out to just everybody and telling them about this movie and seeing online, seeing the reactions, it's nice to not work in a vacuum. It's really nice. I imagine that when people email you after they read some of your articles, isn't it nice to see how they're reacting and see that they get you and that they appreciate it, and then they give you information, and you know, it's just it's just really nice to not work in a vacuum. And this on Facebook, we had an investor who liked our Facebook page, and she put a little note saying, you know, can't wait to see this movie. And she was this cute little grandma from Missouri, and we just smiled so big when we saw that, because it was like, no, you know, it's like, yeah, it's really wonderful feeling, because we're not working in a vacuum. We're connecting to people, which is, what this business is about.
The website that you need to go to take a look at this project is called it's actually called startengine.com. I'll put the link in the description below. Go check it out. If you feel inclinated to do it, throw some money at this crowdfunding project. It's good for the business, it's good for the sector, and let's hope everybody makes a lot of money and your movie is super successful. And maybe
Thanks.
one of our readers will get that cameo walk-on appearance, and they can wear a little. Do they get to wear their own T-shirt, or do you have to wardrobe them?
No, we'll have wardrobe for them. Okay.
So they won't be able to wear the Financial Thing logo with a big website address on there. Then, damn it!
Oh,
but,
maybe I'll check with the production designer. Hey,
you never
sounds
know.
good to me. Sounds good to me.
Okay, again, thanks for your time, David, and best of luck with everything. We'll all be following along and hope to see the movie in November.
Oh, thanks. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. It's great talking to you.
You've been listening to the Financial Thing Peer-to-Peer Lending Essentials podcast. Don't forget to visit financialthing.com for all the latest peer-to-peer lending reviews and DIY investing articles.